This video is about an experience or the experience from a personal perspective, but mostly it came to me as being a father. Being a father, I am trying, maybe that's already half failing, right? Trying. But being a father, I am tending to teach, to be a good parent, right? Or to be a parent, to be a good parent. Interesting, because I wanted to start, I felt like starting this video by saying, forget about good and bad. Forget about good and bad. Beyond the fact that we know already that good and bad are judgments, that if you change perspectives, then you can see how good is suddenly bad, or you can see how bad is suddenly good. It's just yin and yang, just two sides of the same coin, the same experience that has two projections, two separate polarity-based expressions. Because this reality is about dualism. It's the first split in consciousness that happened with the question, who am I? Then there became me and an object that I am perceiving, and a charge in between, an energy flow in between. And once we take each side individually and focus only on that side, that's the yin and yang. That's the polar sides that seemingly don't understand each other. That's where problems, misunderstandings, difficulties, arguments come to be. When one side is so focused on himself, on what's going on in his experience, forgetting that there is a connection, a dual connection between his experience and the opposite experience of what he's charged by. Focusing only on his, her individual, egoistic experience, narrowing, focusing the vision on that, seems to be, oh yeah, I'm right. I'm on the white side. And the other one is on the black side. The other one is doing exactly the same thing, focusing on his experience, his narrow, focused experience, feeling I am right, the other guy is wrong. So we know already, right? We know. Both are right and both are wrong. There's no need to judge that. When you are in that experience of a drama, of something happened to you, then you tend to focus on your side, not seeing the picture from outside, forgetting to be the observer of the entirety of that experience. So you're focused on one side and you see only the white or the black. But beyond that, forget about right and wrong. It is limiting the experience. Once I come already to an experience, judging it to be this or that, I am neglecting the other side. I am focusing on a narrow prisma of that expression that I am experiencing. I am limiting myself, I'm focusing on a certain part of the experience. So beyond good and bad, the experience is way richer, much more full and rich than what the mind wants to perceive, or what it's the capability of the mind right now to perceive. The mind can change its capability, or better say, awareness, consciousness can expand the capabilities of the mind, can reach out corners, darker parts of the mind that are seemingly not reachable or not accessible at this moment. Everything is, of course, accessible because the mind is already a whole united space. Scientifically proved, we are using 10%, top 20% of our brain, maybe not even that. That's not even a fifth of the capabilities of what the brain can do. Once awareness is present and it's going beyond the limitation of the mind right now, beyond the focus of that 10, 15, 20%, then the mind, the connections in the mind are expanding themselves. Energy is flowing. And connected points, or points in the brain that were not illuminated, are getting illuminated and starting to be connected. Everything is connected. In our reality and in our brain, everything can be connected. It's just energy that needs to flow from one place to the next, illuminating that place, and then a connection is stabilized. And then it's not a one-way road anymore. It's flowing back and forth. So the experience is richer. And when we allow the brain to take that leap and to illuminate dark sides of it, we start perceiving our experience, or any experience that we are having, on a much grander place, on a much grander just much grander, I guess. My brain got stuck. And I've noticed it. I've noticed how our parent aspect is causing us to limit the experiences of our own children. Because we come with projections, we come with certain judgment, we come with belief of good and bad. And we believe that crying, for example, is bad. Being sad is not good. So when it happens to us, when it's our own experience, we dive into it. Actually, many people don't want to go there, right? So I'm speaking about subconscious people, people that haven't developed their awareness or haven't allowed the expansion of their consciousness yet. When they face a so-called negative experience, they shut it down or run away from it. They take pills to avoid that. They distract themselves by using their phone, looking on Facebook, hearing music, watching a film, going to a soccer game. They distract themselves in getting into a place of a negative feeling or a negative experience, what they perceive to be negative: sadness, depression, anger, frustration. And yeah, I can fully understand why one would not like to experience that. However, avoiding that experience is not going to help. It's not going to cause the other side of the coin, the other polarity of that experience, right? If you consider sad to be one side and happy the other side. Frustration and achievement. Success. Successful. If I'm avoiding the feeling of sadness, I'm not going to become happy. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm playing a power game, a tug of war, with an energy, with a Merkava, an energy structure that presents itself to me, because I have actually called that forth. It's there because it's part of the experience that I want to have. It just comes in a package that I don't like or that I don't agree with. Say sadness or frustration. So I'm rejecting it, and what I'm doing is I'm using my energy to push it away. Either that, or I'm removing myself, which is again using energy to go away. But since I'm creating all of that, I am pulling it into me at the same time that I'm using energy to fend it off or to run away from it. It's like being tied to a balloon and trying to run away from it. It's like a dog chasing its own tail. So me using energy to fight the energy that I've summoned is causing a lose-lose situation, of course. I'm just creating a cycle of drama, feeding myself through that cycle, through that energy movement until the energy is deployed or until the point of breakdown. Until the point that I cannot do this anymore, until the point that I'm feeling exhausted. That's when sicknesses kicks in, or literally physical breakdown. And then I get into a mode of quietness, stillness, when nothing is able, because I'm not capable of doing anything physically and mentally. The mind also shuts down. And then slowly knowingness seeps in. I look back into that experience and I understand, oh wow, yeah, that's true. Why the heck did I do that? Why did I fend that off? Why did I not accept that in my life? Or why did I not do it differently? And when it comes to our children, us as being, again, good parents, we want to save them from so-called negative experiences. So when we see them cry, when we see them fall down and hurt themselves, we are immediately there, like this beautiful Mother Teresa, tending their wounds, wiping off their tears. And I say, stay the observant for as long as you can. Stay the observant in that experience and allow yourself to experience sadness, depression, anger. Go through that, don't fend it off, don't run away from it. Be present with that. Allow it in your present. It wants something from you. You want something from it. You have called it into your life. And because you didn't know otherwise, you called it in your life in a Merkava, a certain archetype of energy that comes to you in a way that you don't like, that you think that you don't like, just because you're creating it subconsciously. When you start creating things consciously, then you allow them also to come in the form that the most serves you, that less causes a cycle of drama, of you fending it off or running away from it, and until you are completely exhausted. And then it comes in as knowingness, in the stillness, in the quietness, after the war, after the storm. There is that way of achieving knowingness. Going through drama, through energy depletion, through war, and the quiet after the war brings knowingness. And there's a different way to do it, directly to go to the source, allowing the experience, even when it comes as sadness, depression, anger, frustration, hate, Allow yourself to go through this. It's only the perception that those are bad, which not allowing us to engage into those feelings. Allowing the feeling of sadness or hatred is not necessarily hurting anybody else. It's not even necessarily hurting yourself. Allowing it, going through that, there's actually a lot of salvation in there. There is salvation in there, in that experience. And the bottom of it, there is salvation. Salvation from that experience. Of distilling that knowledge of that experience, and the next time when the same experience or experience that comes in an energy form, in a Merkaba energy form of sadness, and knocks on your door, you have the remembrance because you are aware. Your memories are stored, or the memories that are stored are accessible in a quicker, purer, and more brighter and lighter way. And you see that coming, and you can choose consciously, do I go with that experience again, or do I choose something else? That's the salvation. That's the point of salvation, in going through the experience, not rejecting it and not running away from it. That's a big step. Allowing that, trusting that going through that experience, you will come on the other side richer in knowledge, probably even happier. And then there's another big step in allowing something like this to happen to our children. Not to try to save them from a so-called negative experience. Allowing them to go through it. And if we are honest with each other, at one point of their life, they will have to go through it. There's a point in their life that they will be thinking, believing that they're sovereign, stepping out of the house, out of our control zone, and starting experiencing things by themselves. And if we help them avoid stress and sadness and frustration and failure when they were younger, or when they were under our roof, they will come to face it later on, because they are creating their own world, their own reality, and they are calling upon that experience. They are calling upon those energies. And again, it's just an energy, comes in a package, right? That's wrapping the package, which is a sad feeling, a happy feeling. That's just a wrapping of that package. What's in it is the same. It's a pure experience. It's a neutralized energy. So they will, anyway, at one point in their life, have to go through that experiences. Rather, I believe, they go through that experience still being under my roof, where I can be there to support them just by being there. Where they can go through that and they know Papa or Mama is in the next room. And if I get down, speaking as a child now, if I get down to the place where I really need their support, they are physically accessible. So rather, they go through this experience now. of falling down and hurting themselves, of failing a test, of crying when a toy is broken, of breaking a toy, breaking a plate. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it's just an experience. The more they grow with that understanding that there is no charge to that experience, it's neither bad nor wrong, it's just is what it is. The more they grow up with that, the lesser drama and power games they will have to face or choose to go through in their adult lives, because they don't have a charge anymore to experience. They don't perceive it as to be one-sided, black or white, good and bad. They are not focused, they don't channel their energy, focus on one side of the coin. That's a negative experience. That's a positive experience. They're not. They have both. They have the eye of an eagle. They see the experience in its wholeness. They know that they are allowed. They are allowed. They are allowed to make mistakes. They are allowed to cry. They are allowed to shout, to yell, to be angry, to express this. They are allowed. If we allow that, the children are children, and they are allowed to allow it to themselves, they will go through those experiences faster and not drag that experience into adult life, where they can be more dangerous with it, where the potency is building up because of all that pressure, because of all the times where they weren't allowed to express that or to face that experience or to face that or to be with that feeling. It builds pressure. It accumulates into a bomb, an energy bomb that will explode at one point and cause many more ripples, instead of once at a time causing the small ripple as a child experiencing breaking a toy, crying out of frustration. So when the child cries out of frustration and we run to him and we want to make him stop crying because we care about him, yeah, that's why we do that. But then he builds a conditioning. A child builds a conditioning and he knows, oh, when I start crying out of frustration, I get a relief from the outside. There's a compensation through my parents. When a child breaks a toy and he's being yelled at, or even just being told, oh, don't do that anymore, he builds a conditioning again through it, to that. I'm not allowed to break things, which I can understand why it's important, right? We all understand the importance of not breaking things. However, things break. When they are being used, they are being depleted out of their energy. So how about we show the children how to use instrument, tools, objects. How about we show them how to tend it with respect? And if it still breaks down, it means it was time for it to break down. There are so many ways that a parent can attend a child from a point of observation and being a role model, being just the standard. And that's the best way a child will learn, just by, and we are giving actually the children the opportunity to become the observant and the conscious creator from early age. Because the child will see, it will allow to look, to observe how we are doing things. And kids do this anyway. They look up to us, to the parents. When we allow them then to look up to us and to make that own decision, conscious creating already from early age, I'm choosing to follow suit. I'm choosing to do what Papa does. I'm choosing to do what Mama says. Not because she says it, not because they force it on me, not because there is a charge, a plus or minus, not because I'm getting punished if I'm not, or I'm getting a reward if I am. No. I'm choosing it consciously. There is no conditioning, no punish or reward. I, as a child, choose that way of life, that feeling, that behavior. I'm choosing it consciously. I'm allowed to choose this and I'm allowed to choose that, and I make my own choice. Just because I see that works for Papa, that works for Mama, that gives joy, that brings happiness. And that's the feeling that I want to choose. That's reshaping the world without doing anything. Just being, expressing our truth, expressing love and joy, just being with that feelings. Not because we consider them to be better ones, the positive ones, just because they are the ones who gives us the most energy, love, whatever it is that they give us most. That's what we are choosing, to be in that experience. I want to be in an experience of joy and love, and I'm doing it, I'm allowing it with my children too. Joyful means to me acting foolish sometimes, like a goof. And I'm allowing myself to be like that around my children. So they grow up and they see that is fun. That brings me joy. It doesn't hurt anybody else if I'm a goof. That's going through life with choosing joyful experiences that are beyond meaningful. They are grand, they are expansive, they are not limited to a focused expression, good or bad, right or wrong. They are beyond that. They contain both, and they are